They were trafficking to themselves and for back massages. I mean, that was it. Epstein
Now,
and his
speaking
back
of
massages.
questionable trafficking, that's real trafficking. The Andrew Tate allegations smell very bad to me.
Okay, hold on, Robert. So this is interesting because I am back in the day, we all became familiar with Andrew Tate because he was being deplatformed from every platform simultaneously, not because he was charged with sex trafficking or Romeo pimping as the laws might be in Romania, but because he was saying stupid things on various platforms and got systematically deplatformed. Rumble took him on, or he came to Rumble. It was a big deal. And at the time, I was saying, look, I don't care that the guy says stupid things. I don't like very much of what Tate has to say. At the time, I was saying this is not the basis to deplatform an individual, to unperson them, to cancel them. It's not legitimate. It's not the way you do it. Even though he is still now currently facing charges in Romania, or at least an investigation. I don't know if he's been formally charged. I still don't think people should get deplatformed for crimes that they get accused of or even convicted of off platform. And I have this thing where I don't like Andrew Tate. I don't like the stuff he says. I've got kids and my kids know of the stupid stuff he says. I think it's stupid. I don't think it's a good influence whatsoever. I don't think it's good male role modeling, period. But I don't think he should be deplatformed. I have a one or two checks against him as a human, but still feel the need to vigorously defend his presumption of innocence until, conviction in a court of law based on the evidence. That being said, Robert, I've seen the evidence outside of the court of the law. He talks a lot. He said a lot of things, and it's all coming back to bite him in the ass right now. Maybe people don't know about the what is the type of law? It's Romeo pimping, lover boy laws. Pimping, which might be illegal in Romania and seems to be illegal in Romania, to encourage, manipulate someone into getting into a relationship so you can exploit them financially for sexual financial gain. My goodness, Robert, I've seen enough videos of Andrew Tate, not out of context, 30-minute interviews, where he seems to be explaining just that and maybe didn't know it was illegal in Romania, but I find that hard to believe. What is your take on Tate and what's going on?
So, yeah, I see there's a couple of things. One is this dangerous proclivity to sort of create a victim culture that doesn't draw clear lines between what is abuse, what is illegal, and what is just disliked. So to back up, there's a couple of components. One is I've seen some discussion that people think Andrew Tate was only recently getting involved in conservative media, and the narrative was he was doing that in order to cover up for these allegations he knew were coming. Problem with that is I met Andrew Tate years ago at the Trump Hotel when he was attending CPAC. He's been involved in these kind of political issues for a long time. So he just got successful at promoting himself at key times when they were trying to deplatform him over the summer. The second thing is I'm not a fan of his machismo rhetoric and language. Some people are. People can take it however they want. As a whole, he's a very smart guy. I think it was his father or his grandfather was one of the great young black chess players in history. So, he comes from a family of well-known and very intelligent family background. I was aware of his business and was not a fan of his business, but that's my personal moral judgment. To my knowledge, it was entirely legal in the way he conducted it. But, I've told people in general that are in that industry, the webcam, OnlyFans type industry, it's a high-risk industry. Because you're dealing with questionable. First of all, anybody who's doing it more often than not is not, you're going to have people that are mentally ill. You're going to have people that have drug problems. You're going to have people that have alcohol problems. You're going to have people that are, frankly, just criminals. So how do you tell somebody that you didn't coerce them? Because their incentive to make stuff up is off the charts. Just is. You have too many people in that field that's that way. It's the hard part of. There are people who have been in that area who have been abused, and that's why they end up there. And the problem of the abuse is it fractures memory, it weakens witness recall in a range of contexts. And when I've defended, Wesley Snipes was falsely accused of parenting a child, and he had absolutely nothing to do with it. Never met the woman in her life. She was telling a story that was clearly fictional and fabricated, but clearly believed it because she was someone who'd gone through severe abuse issues, then drug issues, had a pimp, etc. She was actually trying to hide the identity of the pimp because the pimp was the likely father and so forth, so that he didn't have to pay child support to the government because the government was paying benefits. And that's what led to the allegation against Snipes. And to give you an idea how nuts it was, she didn't even identify him as Wesley Snipes. She said his name was Jesus Estradas, a.k.a. Wesley Snipes. Right? I mean, he was Cuban. They'd been secretly married. They had 8 kids together. The government had done a whole helicopter thing to help do the marriage. You know, we called it the Immaculate Conception. You know, Blade showed up at her door, said, "You're beautiful and wonderful," and that's how the conception happened. I mean, it was ridiculous, and yet the government pursued that case because it was Wesley Snipes. And so there needs to be lines. And what I'm hearing from the allegations, for the most part, there's some old ones from the UK that are different. But I'm hearing what bothered me about aspects of even the Nixium case, which was like when the Second Circuit affirmed the Nixium convictions of Ranieri, I think his name was. They went further than they needed to. If they would have just said, "Hey, look, he engaged in blackmail and extortion. Those are predicate acts of RICO," that's sufficient for human trafficking purposes. Then that would have been no problem. Instead, it became, seeking status can now be a crime. I mean, like, you look at some of the language the Romanian prosecutor is using. He's saying, well, they felt manipulated. Hold on a second. We're going to now, this is like the same problem I had with the Julian Assange case. Same problem I had with the campus Me Too cases, where all of a sudden, she said that she regretted it. And so hence that's now sexual assault. It's like, well, hold on a second. She didn't say she said no. She didn't say it was coerced. She didn't say she was drugged. She didn't say any of that. The next day she said she regret, and now that's sexual. We're going to call that equal to sexual assault. Julian Assange didn't use the condom right, and we're now going to say that's equal to rape. And I'm hearing them say, I'm not hearing it. What was the coercion? What was the coercion? Oh, I thought he was going to marry me. Well, that's now the coercion. I thought he was going to marry me. I expected to hear guns. I expected to hear passport taken. I expected to hear physical assault. I expected to hear isolated in a home. Instead, I see, like the other people they're accusing with him are clearly models that had high-end success as in the OnlyFans space. I have one experience with this when I defended Joe Francis, the Girls Gone Wild guy, on tax charges. Now, I utterly despise Joe Francis. I've said so publicly many times. He publicly attacked me, so that opened me up the opportunity for me to respond publicly. However, I can tell you that almost all the accusations they were making against Girls Gone Wild were false. I went back and looked at all the videotape, but before the person did the interview. They were all they were girls that wanted to be famous, recognized. They wanted to be the most popular. And like you see in the whole buildup, nobody's really drunk. That's all an act. The whole model was really built on getting girls who are party girls and had been party girls for a while to pretend to be nice, quiet girls who went crazy on spring break. Right? That was the real deal with Girls Gone Wild, right? But they were pretending that Joe Francis was secretly drugging them all, getting them drunk all, doing all these horrible things. And it's like, and all the Girls Gone Wild crew was involved with it. All the film guys. It's like, well, 90% of that, not true. So when I hear this, I get a little skeptical because we don't like webcam, or a lot of people don't like the webcam business because we don't like it morally. We don't like it because we don't feel comfortable with it. For whatever the reason. But I can say that I have not seen allegations that equal human trafficking as yet.
And this is the problem. I mean, Eliza Blue has been very vocal about this. Not so much vocal about Tate actually as a specific case, but in general. But when you start referring to this, which some people might find exploitive behavior, okay, he befriends, He might even get into relationships with women. They both make a shit ton of money doing this.
What relationship couldn't be redefined as exploitive?
Well,
that's my problem. I mean, we don't have real clear legal lines here. All of a sudden, the government can just relabel anything, and anybody who's unhappy about a situation can relabel it, and you go to prison for life.
Well, it'll only be 20 years for Tate, but no. They're floating the trafficking term. People are, I think, rightly taking issue with the trafficking label, but. Yeah. They haven't charged
Michael Tracy. I mean, and between Michael Tracy and Eliza Blue, On this issue, I side more with Michael Tracy because I do think that we should not, because real human trafficking and sexual abuse and assault is so real and so horrible. We should never dilute it with somebody unhappy that they didn't make as much money as they expected from their own.
That I tend to agree with on the human trafficking label, whether or not it becomes a charge, separate issue. The lover boy laws that they have in Romania about pimping out girls, getting into a relationship with them for the purposes of exploiting them financially. Dude, Tate said enough that to me that sounds like it's going to even on its own be enough to
apply to both sides, though, because I can tell you a lot of Eastern Europe women have made a lot of money in business exploiting men.
Well, Robert, I don't know, but they haven't been arrested and detained yet. But then there's
here's the other thing. Backstory: only reason Andrew Tate is being prosecuted is because of his speech that has nothing to do with men and women relationships and nothing to do with his webcam business. He's being prosecuted because as it's come out, the U.S. government, specifically the Biden administration, specifically requested the Romanian government prosecute him. And they specifically requested it at the same time he became a high-profile public figure throughout Europe and the United States, including his criticism of the Ukrainian war, including which, by the way, Romania has a big interest in. Romania would like to take back part of Ukraine, including the certain part. They would like to take Moldova back, frankly. They would like Transnistria back. They would like southwestern parts of Ukraine, in their minds, back to Ukraine, to Romania. So now, my own view, I get Tate's perspective. I would not have been in Romania if I was going to be critical of the Ukrainian war, and I got high profile and had millions of views. I would have been outside of, would not have been there. But I think he was naive about the Romanian legal system.
Well, or thinking,
but that's why he's being prosecuted. He's going to be prosecuted because of this stuff. They've known about this. He's been involved in the webcam business for over 10 years.
Well, but this is the thing. Like, I'm going to show you a clip. I don't know when the clip is from, but setting aside trafficking, setting aside lover boy, Romeo pimp laws, whether or not this just qualifies as outright fraud, but these are oldish clips. Like, these have been around for a while, but I don't know what the statute of limitations is. But Robert, I won't play the full 3 minutes. Just a minute.
And maybe this is a bit bad. Here's where the famous would start. So it'd be good. Like, I had a lot of girls who worked for me, and the best was like the Ukrainians or the Russians. It was amazing because they'd get some guy, fall in love. They'd arrange the day to meet, all this shit. I need a visa. Okay, get a visa. I need money for a visa. Okay, how much is a visa? It's $900. No, but it's not $900 because I went to the embassy. They think I'm a risk, and I need a return flight there and back. And I need a hotel. I need to have spending money in my bank account. They won't let me come. How much you need? All right, 10 grand. Boom. It's 10 G's. Boom. Okay, thanks.
Wow.
Go to the embassy, take a picture outside the embassy. Boom, come back. They rejected my visa. They said we have to wait 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, they'll give it to me. Okay, baby. Boom. 2 more weeks of tips. Boom, 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 boom. Because now he thinks he's going to fuck, right? Thinks we get the girls. Now he's spending more than ever. 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks.
Terrible.
2 weeks come.
Sorry.
Some other problem. Whether it's visa, whatever. We make up some bullshit.
I'll stop
all these OnlyFans.
This goes on where the punchline, for lack of a better word, is that at the end of this, they get all the money, say, "Oh, I need more money to go get the visa," and then
extremely
at the end,
extremely common.
Oh, well, the only question is whether or not it's illegal.
And have any of the Ukrainian women been prosecuted, or Russian women, or Romanian women, or East European women? I mean, this was like the same argument I had with Julian Assange. I was like, okay, if we're going to say it's now equal to rape if you don't use birth control correctly, there's a lot of men that now have rape claims against women. Because, there's a lot of NBA and NFL and some other players and some rich other folks that had a lot of, baby mamas out there that get nice 21% of your annual earnings because they said, "Hey, don't worry, I'm on the pill." And turned out they weren't, right? Is that we're now going to call that equal to rape? So this is the problem. This is the nature of relationships are manipulative. It's the reason why we no longer enforce contracts for personal services. We're not going to get involved in this. And we shouldn't. And I think it's a mistake to start to criminalize it. And in my view, it devalues the real risk of human trafficking, the real risk of, because the people that, other than the Tates in the world that are in this world, the Tates you can call manipulators, whatever you want. What they're not is the Russian mob. What they're not is the Albanian mob. What they're not are some of the biggest human traffickers in the world who are like the characters out of the movie Taken. That's the other side of this. Somehow they're not being prosecuted, but the guy who's got a dispute of saying, hey, I didn't get as much money as I thought he was going to marry me, I felt manipulated. What? That is not human trafficking, and frankly shouldn't be a crime.
I'm going to just bring this up one more time because someone in the chat said it. That is a big drink. That's 3 fingers deep, as we say.
I mean, he always maintained that same machismo. His brother was the same way. I don't share that machismo approach.
I hate it. I don't like it. But the thing is this. I
don't think it's a crime.
Well, and this is what I'm going to say. So I don't like Andrew Tate in messaging, in form, and delivery. I don't give a crap about cars. I will still work vigorously to.
I guess he really had those. I always wondered whether he really had those. Well, they seized them. Turns out, yes, he did.
Who were they? Company cars? We'll find out. Seized 30 cars worth a lot of money.
I mean, really, what he was good at, frankly, was he was just the Western conduit who knew how to create this burgeoning OnlyFans webcam world that took place after 2000, where the primary people were women, especially in Eastern Europe, but it was all over the world and global, but Eastern Europe more so than elsewhere, because you can make big money. He was able to bridge the gap between them and the Western audience, and he made a ton of money doing it, apparently. Wow. But again, the probability that he was doing anything illegal is just really low when he was doing it for this many years and this much publicity. And again, what we now know is the U.S. government specifically requested the Romanian government indict him. The timing of it connects to the Biden administration, and the timing of it connects to his being politically critical on topics other than gender and misogyny and all the rest, on talking about why young men should not volunteer for their military service because they're just going to use you and grind you up. Why the war is a big scam. Why all the COVID lockdowns were insanity. I mean, it was that discussion, that public profile that put him on the U.S. government's agenda is why he's being criminally prosecuted. No, this is a purely politically motivated prosecution for which I have not seen credible evidence should even exist in the first place.
Well, unless it's fraud or some other non-sexual human trafficking. Robert,
or maybe allegations will come forward of real coercion. Again, I thought NXIVM had evidence of real coercion, real blackmail, real extortion that was sufficient to trigger the subcomponents of human trafficking. I haven't seen that here. I mean, instead, I saw language from the Romanian prosecutors like, "Whoa, we're going to call any manipulation this? Okay, we better lock up half the women in Eastern Europe then.
Get married, young people.
Sexual relationships for money is a crime."